Well, hello, everybody out there in live streaming world. This is, of course, Jeff, aka TrueKnowledge, MCU'S Bleeding Edge, with, as always, Cyberneticshark, my co-host, my reliable good buddy, who keeps me in check and busts my balls occasionally when it's needed. We've got Arch, the main lone representative of the podcast of champions, the ambassador of the podcast of champions at sakar.freeforums.net.
Good to see you guys. Sorry I missed last week, but good to be back.
Oh man, don't worry about it. And don't think I forgot already that you want to talk about the Peggy Carter episode. So we're gonna make sure you get time for that.
I'll work it in.
Vincent is here for the first time. Vincent, say hello.
Hello, everybody. My name is Vincent Van Spock, and welcome to the MCU's Bleeding Edge.
Vincent, you can turn your audio up just a little bit, brother. And that way we can hear you a little bit better. But Vincent is somebody who actually has been a supporter of the channel, the podcast. He's been in the comment section before and whatnot, and been a part and participated in the show. And I met him on the platform Clapper. Cyber's actually on there too. We're both on there. Among the multiple platforms that Cyber and I frequent. Of course, Cyber and I also are on Rizzle. That is our home platform. You can always find us on there. He's Cyberneticshark. He's a veteran YouTuber. He's also a podcaster. And he, among many things, covers film and TV, and is a huge, massive MCU fan, as we all are here. As I mentioned already, Arch, essentially, Arch Stanton, as he's called on sakar.freeforums.net, comes from the podcast of champions, who is a really good friend to the MCU's Bleeding Edge. And Arch basically has become what I would almost call a regular part of the team at this point. I mean, it's almost kind of awkward when Arch isn't there. So, we missed you last week, buddy.
Yeah, man, this stuff came up, but I like talking to you guys. It's always fun to get on here. You always bring different topics and stuff, and it's just a fun chat, guys. I like being on.
Do you have anything to say about last Saturday's Podcast of Champions shows that we did?
Oh, you mean just in terms?
I forget. I forgot you weren't with us, were you?
I missed those too, man. Yeah. I've been a little bit busy the last week and a half or so. So yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't there.
That's right. Okay. Did you have a chance to watch them?
I haven't yet. No. I just got back in. I'm still finishing up episode 12, the last part of that we did recently, and then I'm going to get into taking a look at producing whatever it is you guys did on Saturday. So I really can't wait to watch it. I heard it's pretty good.
Well, I will make sure that for once, as I'm continuing to try to learn how this stuff works, I'll make sure with that when I do the description for this YouTube video, I drop some links for some of the episodes of the Podcast of Champions YouTube channel. That way you guys, out there have a chance to kind of jump over and kind of see what they've got going on over there, because I can honestly say that I guest on there regularly at this point, and I feel very welcome to being on there. It's almost like it's almost like being a part of a team. And I'm also active on sakar.freeforums.net, which is the fandom that Arch and the Grandmaster basically, I believe, put together initially, if I remember correctly, Arch.
Yeah. So I didn't come in right out of the gate on that one. That was Grandmasters, or as I call them, Wellabers, baby. But yeah, it's a forum for all sorts of fandoms. We're largely MCU, but we do all kinds of things. If you're a big DCU fan, if you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a Trek fan, or anything else. We've recently done several episodes of the podcast that we did a 5-part series on DC. We just did a whole coverage of MCU Phase 4. And we're doing a lot of other things, including reviews of episodes and all types of things. So anybody that wants to come on and check it out, participate in the show, if you have something specific you want to talk about, we're glad to discuss it. So come on by. We'd love to have you.
Yes, and I will drop links also in the description for sakar.freeforums.net. Now, going to you, Vincent. Do you want to kind of just introduce yourself and maybe just let people know a little bit about yourself and inform everybody as to kind of who you are, and, what all you're into, how you factor into the fandom?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said at the beginning, my name is Vincent Van Spock. You can find me online on YouTube at Vincent Van Spock. That's my username there. You can find me on TikTok, Vincent Van Spock there, and Clapper, as well as Vincent Van Spock. I'm not as active as I have been in the past, but I'm hoping to get back into being active in these types of things pretty soon. As far as like my fandoms go, I pretty much love anything Marvel, of course. That's why I'm here today. I love DC. I love Star Wars. I love Harry Potter. If it's nerdy and you can watch it or read it or whatever, it's my life. So, in fact, I'm so into specific fandoms that I have 2 Harry Potter things going on. One of them is going to be local here in Vancouver, Washington, where I live, where I'm going to be doing a Harry Potter themed play called Puffs. And basically, it takes place during the same 7 years as Harry's journey, except for it's starring some people that are not in the books. So you wouldn't have heard of them like in any of the books or anything. But yeah, it's called Puffs. It's a lot of fun. It'll be here in Vancouver, Washington. And then the other thing I'm going to be doing in LA, they are requiring people to be in the audience, as they put it, for a Harry Potter themed quiz show that I believe is going up on HBO Max. And as of right now, I have an invitation to go do that. Films in September. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Well, Vincent, I would highly suggest that you consider going on to sakar.freeforums.net and signing up, man. The sign up process is very simple. It takes less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then, Grandmaster just approves you, which takes less than, nothing. And, as soon as he sees your profile, he'll activate you. I think you would actually really enjoy participating in the fandom on there. I think there's a lot of things, a lot of threads up there that you would really dig into, like, getting involved in the discussion and whatnot.
Yeah, I think I'll go sign up for that as soon as we're done with this.
Yeah, most definitely. And I will text you, messenger you or whatever, and give you the sakar.freeforums.net, just remind you and whatnot, what it's called and whatnot. But
I just wanted to throw this out there. I'm trying to talk the guys into doing a Lord of the Rings discussion recently, mostly centered on the new picture they have for the show that's upcoming. I saw that coming out, and it really got me pumped up to talk to some Lord of the Rings, since we haven't really gotten
that. Arch, I wish you would have told me about that before the show, and you could have told. I would have got that picture, and we could have thrown it up.
Yeah, it's not official yet. I don't know if we're going to be talking about it or not, but I'm trying to angle for that, because I'm really excited about the show now. So
listen, I'll tell you what, like I mean, I've got to I have not been paying attention to what's been going on with the Amazon Lord of the Rings deal and whatnot. Like I here and there I paid attention a little bit, but I don't know exactly where things are at right now currently. But basically, I'd be very interested in jumping in on if you wanted to do a show on the Lord of the Rings, man. Like I would be all about it.
Yeah, we might do that. I've got the picture actually here on my desktop. I don't know if I can send it to you or not, but we can talk about it later if you like.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Right. Let me just check really quick and see what's going on in the chat. Oh, want to become famous by followers, primes, and viewers on big follows. Yeah, okay. Well, guess what? We won't be doing that anytime soon, but we prefer organic growth. We don't really get down with the entire paying for like views deal or whatever. So like I've actually looked into that a little bit, to be honest with you, just because I wanted to know what it was all about. And it looks like a bunch of bullshit to me, to be honest with you. It looks like a joke, but like whatever. Yeah, like it sounds really like a really logical idea for me to pay for like 1,000 listens to like the podcast, when like they only give you that 1,000 listens to one episode. So like what happens to my other like 37 episodes or whatever that only have so many views, and then like one of them has like 10,000 all of a sudden? It's not gonna look good. So like that's why I'm a little hesitant. But Cyber's all about it. He's already told me he's down for paying for views and listeners for the live stream. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking, Cyber.
He's giving you the people's eyebrow there.
I'm just playing, Cyber. Come on now. Anyways, so before we get into this episode 2 of What If review, that is obviously the crux of this live stream, I just want to just take a quick second to just thank all of you out there who have been diligently watching these live streams once they actually become YouTube videos. I've been very, very pleased to see our numbers rising in terms of our viewership. Our subscriber count on YouTube keeps going up little by little by little. Before you know it, we'll be hitting 100 subscribers. Then before you know it, we'll be hitting 500. And then before you know it, we'll be hitting 1,000. So, and I can see it happening. It's going to, I'm hoping sooner rather than later. But we just want to thank everybody out there. You know, I want to thank everybody for being on the show. I want to thank Cyber for, as always, being somebody that I can rely on to always show up, you know, and make this shit happen. And just those of you out there, you know, family members, you know, friends, spouses, you know, wives, who support our content and everything in any way. We definitely really appreciate you. So, okay, getting into, before we get into What If episode 2, the T'Challa as Star-Lord episode, Arch, before I go ahead and throw up a trailer / promo for episode 2, just so we have something visual to work with, what were your thoughts on the first episode of What If, since you weren't here for the review last week?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I think right now I would describe this series as a casual, fun watch. It's not something I think you're supposed to get, at least at this point, too serious about. Like we might talk about that a little bit more later, but you know, you're not really worried about, you know, interconnectivity or anything like that. You're just they got a series of, like, you know, clever ways to use similar scenes in a different way. Such as, like, the first episode, the one that strikes me is the train scene. So the one in the film where Bucky famously gets lost, conceivably forever, but he winds up getting brought back as the Winter Soldier. That plays out entirely differently, where it's just a complete ambush. So I like it when you get to those scenes so far in this series and you're left going, oh yeah, I know this scene, but how's it going to work this time? So I think they're doing a pretty good job of playing with those, and those are what's really keeping me interested. As you know, I'm a big fan of the continuity in the MCU. I know a lot of people are, but I know that's something that some people, it's not the big thing for them. Like, they can, you know, they love going to watch completely independent films, which is fine too. But I really do love and get into the continuity in the MCU. So the fact that this doesn't have a lot of that it's less. I don't mean to say this in a bad way. It's slightly less of a draw, but they have those cool moments that they've been really creative with in terms of using scenes and using characters in a kind of clever way that keeps me invested in it.
Most definitely. Vincent.
Yes, sir.
What were your thoughts on episode 1, brother? Since you weren't here last week either, we would love to maybe just, you know, segue a little bit here and get into that, you know, that Peggy Carter episode. What were your thoughts?
Well, my initial thought was "Step on me, tall lady," as she Miss Carter, Captain Carter. Oh my! It's quite interesting to see her get really big and Hulk out on us, sort of. I never understood, like, the whole Lady Dimitrescu thing from Resident Evil 8, that everybody was obsessed with her, but I understand it now that I've seen Captain Carter. But as far as, like, the actual episode goes, I think it was pretty good. It had some really cheesy moments to it. Some things that were like, oh, okay, yeah, I get why you put that in there. That's a fan thing, you know, I get it. And then there were some things that were, like, really super cool. I loved seeing Peggy fighting what I'm going to call a Hydralisk or something that came out of the portal. Seeing that was a really awesome moment. Not having her villain of it be the Red Skull. He just gets squished and thrown aside, because the Red Skull is Captain America's villain, not Peggy's. And so that was pretty cool to me. I loved seeing the Iron Man version of Skinny Steve Rogers. That was really awesome. The animation style, absolutely love the animation style. It's very realistic, in spite the fact that it is completely and totally animation, but it looks three-dimensional. It looks like these are actual people. Kind of reminds me of a Scanner Darkly, if you've ever seen that movie, except for that's an animation overlay as opposed to this, which is actual just solid animation. So yeah, otherwise it was a pretty great episode.
I got to be honest with you. I was not a big fan of like the fact that they eliminated Red Skull right out of the show like that, just like bam, like he's dead. Like, I mean, again, I don't want to be overly critical about this stuff because I do get that it's animated and maybe they're going to try to try some different things that they wouldn't normally be able to do with live action. But they made Red Skull out to be like a wimp. Like he just got killed by that monster like immediately. And I just want to be clear out there to everybody out there who honestly doesn't know this. And I understand where people might have a misconception, but that is not Shuma Gorath in that episode at all. That is not Shuma Gorath. Shuma Gorath is not just a monster like that lumbers around and everything and whatnot and has no idea what it's doing or whatever. Like Shuma Gorath actually is intelligent and has like psychic powers and everything and would be talking to people and everything and using magic and stuff like that, so that wasn't Shuma Gorath. I forget the name of what exactly that Hydra monster is called, but I mean, I really don't have that much to really add to any of that as far as episode 1 goes. We pretty much had a very thorough conversation about it already. And as far as getting into episode 2, why don't we go ahead really quick and just watch this trailer? And I'm also going to throw up the What If intro because I think it's really good and I want everybody to see it.
The stories. But what if one thing changed everything?
You sure don't seem too freaked out about all this, kid. T'Challa!
Give me the toy.
Where you want to be? That's the question, isn't it?
We have you outnumbered.
You had me worried for a second.
Exploring the world.
Sounds fun.
Expect the unexpected. What if?
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
No, sorry about that, everybody. I thought that I had the What If intro with Jeffrey Wright.
It might just be after the Marvel credit.
It could be after that. That could very well be it. It could be just after the credits. So let me just try one more time. No, that's not it. Sorry about that, guys. I really wanted to play that too because I think Jeffrey Wright is just excellent doing that introduction. He really is. And that's actually something that I want to open up with. guys, starting off with you, Cyber, since we haven't really got much from you so far. What I know I asked you about, we talked about this a little bit already, but like what was your take hearing Jeffrey Wright maybe the first time you heard him talk as the Watcher and everything, like doing the introduction for that first episode, and then even in the second episode? What did you think of that?
I enjoyed him. I thought he did a good job. I think he has a really great voice. I thought he does a good job at being the narrator and being the character he's supposed to be playing, the Watcher. I think it's a really good introduction to that character, and just kind of giving us a, kind of a voice with the, comic book image, if you like, you say, because you kind of see him in the What If series so far. You kind of see him, but you really haven't. We haven't really seen him really in anything else. So, I mean, the fact that they give us this great voice, which Jeffrey Wright, I've always enjoyed him in anything I've ever seen him in. I always enjoyed listening to him because I just think he has one of those voices where they could put it on calm and you could fall asleep to his voice, like type of deal. So I thought that he did a good job in both episodes. I think that in the second episode, he improved on his performance in the first episode, and I think it was even more enjoyable. Just really well-rounded, I thought, and I really enjoyed what he brought to the table.
Vincent, how about you, brother? What did you think of of what you saw so far of Jeffrey Wright as Uatu?
I think Jeffrey Wright's a great pick for Uatu. He brings that calmness, like you were mentioning there, to it, but he also brings a acting expertise to the table that Marvel is really well known for at this point, is to hiring these big name actors and people that bring in a lot of money and a lot of revenue and whatnot. So I think Jeffrey Wright is a brilliant pick for it because of his voice. It's really soothing, and it makes sense in my head when I read comics with the Uatu in them. So
yes, most definitely. And I'll tell you, when I think of Jeffrey Wright, I can never forget him in Jacob's Ladder. Back in the day when he was nobody, he had a small role in Jacob's Ladder with Tim Robbins. And that was it Tim Robbins? Cyber?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 1990.
Yeah, that was a good movie, trippy movie, man. If anybody out there has never seen it, it's a great film.
I mostly know him from 007.
Yes. Arch, how about you, man? What'd you think of Jeffrey Wright doing the intro?
He's awesome, but now I'm just thinking of Cyber hiring him to read him bedtime stories. So that's all I can think of. But no, I really liked it. I tell you, the thing it reminds me of, I don't know if you guys if you remember the Diablo 3 trailer that came out. It was like one of the later ones that came out where it was like this epic thing, and the guy who's talking in it really reminds me of that guy. He's like this fallen angel character who's like hiding this I forget what they call it now offhand, but he's hiding this like really important artifact that nobody can get, and he's just like is speaking with this oddly calming but intense voice, and Jeffrey reminds me of that. The one specific scene I think of in the opening to that was when he says I think he's saying something like time isn't linear, it's a prism. And then the video, it just kind of cracks and you see all these different things. And it just really, that moment just kind of feels pretty epic to me. And Jeffrey really brings that out. So I really appreciate him.
Yeah, Arch, I think of your like template that you do with the shatter and everything and whatnot.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah.
That's the first thing that pops in my head.
You know what? While I'm thinking about it, I don't know why this popped in my head, but it reminds me kind of like what they did with Fishburne in the Silver Surfer voice way back when in the second Fantastic Four movie when they had Silver Surfer come in. But Jeffrey reminds me of somebody that could do that, like this sage but sincere and awesome warrior sort of kind of voice. I could see him doing a similar sort of Silver Surfer type thing, but he's doing that with the Watcher basically. So yeah, no, he's awesome.
Well, I mean, honestly, to tell you the truth, I really feel like this was the perfect role for him. If Marvel Studios was gonna work with Jeffrey Wright, I really feel like this was literally the perfect casting for him. I can't imagine him doing anything else in Marvel Studios and it being effective or like him or taking advantage of his strengths as an orator, with that voice he's got, almost that James Earl Jones kind of voice that's just like very, dominating or impactful, like, you know, when you hear it. But
Yeah.
Honestly, and again, I think that this kind of lends to a conversation and a discussion that we've had personally. I know all of us, and that also, you know, on the show, and that's the fact that, and I'd love to hear you guys' opinions on this. You know, feel free to jump in. You know, when it boils down to it, Marvel Studios is the place to be if you're an actor or an actress nowadays. Like, they're the pinnacle of like the industry. Like, everybody wants to work for Marvel Studios at this point. Well, not everybody. I mean, you know, obviously, what's her name doesn't want to be in the Fantastic Four. You know, from Jungle Cruise, I forget her name off the top of my head.
Emily Blunt.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be Sue Storm, but besides her, everybody else, you know, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Jeffrey Wright, like these really like iconic, almost like, you know, type actors and actresses all want to be with Marvel and Marvel Studios, so they must be doing something right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, what do you think, Vincent?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if they don't pull star power, they make you a star, and that's the thing. Is like, you know, a lot of these people, like Chris Evans, he was probably a B or a C lister up until he became Captain America, and then all of a sudden everybody's wanting him for their movies. So like, he, you know, his most recent that I saw was Knives Out, and he's a completely different character in that than Captain America, and that's what makes him pretty awesome. But, you know, before that, he was just kind of like a minor character in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. He did have.
You always knew he had talent, Vincent. Honestly,
oh yeah,
everybody knew.
Yeah, everybody knew that he had talent, but then getting the starring role with Marvel, I think, is really what broke him out and made people go, "I want him," specifically. Same with. Robert Downey Jr. had a lot of talent beforehand and was Oscar material beforehand, and then he went into the drug use and the rehab and all of that stuff, and he came out of it, and people weren't sure what was going to happen with him, but then he hits Iron Man, and all of a sudden he's the best star in the world. So I think if they don't pull star power specifically, then they will make you a star, because everybody knows Chris Hemsworth now because of this. Everybody knows Chris Pratt because of this. I mean, yeah, Chris Pratt was in Parks and Recreation, but I think Star-Lord is what really made him a star.
Cyber, what was the movie that Chris Evans was in right before he did the first Avenger for Marvel? What was that movie where it was like an action movie where he had some kind of like special superpower or whatever? Like,
well, that was made after the first Avenger. That was Push. And that came out in 2013.
Push. That was a really freaking good movie.
Yeah. Digimon Huzon was in it too.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
That was after Captain America.
That was after Captain America. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he was good in that. I mean, that was a great movie. I remember watching that and really enjoying that. You know, in fact, I think I even stole it from a chick that I was like hanging out with at that point. She had it, and I stole it from her because I felt.
Hopefully, she's not watching right now.
She's not watching. I was just about to say that.
No, it's okay. I don't mind. I really don't. I don't care if she knows that I stole it or not. She stole one of my Rush Limbaugh books from me, so like it was a payback thing. Because I left the Rush Limbaugh book in her bathroom because, like, you know, that way I could sit and read it and everything when I was there. And she just, like, confiscated it one day. And, like, I never saw it again. So, you know. Anyways. So, but no, I feel like Arch, you know, we're going to talk about, you know, T'Challa in episode 2 and whatnot and what if. But, you know, what do you think? What do you think on this whole premise that basically, like, Marvel Studios is the place to go at this point?
Yeah, I think Vincent brings up a good point. Like, Hemsworth has like become a major star, and I don't think he would have. I mean, maybe he would have, but I don't. Thor is clearly a major jumping off point for him. So, same with Pratt. Pratt's had a lot of big roles with Jurassic Park and other things. So it's been a major jumping off point for him. You know, I don't think, like, Boseman obviously just passed, which is really unfortunate, but that's relative to this episode. But he was getting a ton of roles as well. Like,
yeah.
What was it? 7 Bridges? What was it called? He had that. It was the one he had come out just. It was the last movie he had come out anyway. But
what was that movie that Boseman was in as a cop or whatever? Where like in New York.
It was like 7 Bridges or something like that.
21.
21 Bridges. I was
21 Bridges.
So yeah. I mean, I think a lot of them get a lot of push. I know you guys were talking about this a few weeks ago as to whether or not it was some sort of detriment, but I don't think so. I mean, I guess you run the risk of getting a little typecast perhaps in some of these roles, but I don't know that anybody has. I mean, Zoe Saldana's been in a bunch of stuff, although she was in a few things before she got the Gamora role, so I don't know if that quite counts, but she's had a lot of roles. I think a lot of these people do, so it's great exposure. I can't see it as anything but a good thing. They make people, as Vincent said, a household name. So that's yep.
Cyber, what do you think as far as this whole topic goes? What are your thoughts? But then also, what do you think, being that you're the more knowledgeable guy here on the panel as far as like film and the industry and stuff like that and whatnot, do you feel like, on top of the topic that it's already out there, do you feel like working for Marvel Studios for a long time sets you up in a good position going out on your own after that?
Well, yeah, no, any big studio that has a big following, if you become a part of that, you become a part of the family, and then you basically have your career set for you. I mean, that was very evident when, as we've talked in the past year about, Robert Downey Jr. with Iron Man. Iron Man is what reignited his career. And I mean, from there on, he started doing the Sherlock Holmes films. He did The Judge. He did, other films and so forth. He did Dr. Dolittle, which, he produced himself. It wasn't a huge hit, but still, I mean, people didn't care. It was Robert Downey Jr. They'll still watch it. But I mean, yeah, a lot of these actors, they did stuff prior to becoming these Marvel giants. But yeah, most definitely, a lot of them, the Marvel thread for them was their big stepping stone. Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, Karen Gillian. This made her, she had done stuff prior to this, but this had made her more of a household name as well. Same thing with Zoe Saldana. And same thing with, many other of the people that have been a part of the Marvel Universe. They have done plenty of films before this, but because they already had some sort of star power from the previous experience, Marvel was able to basically accentuate that and make it even more big. And so, that's, if you get into a good company or a company that has a lot of backing power, it'll make you famous. And that's what Marvel is doing with a lot of these actors, because the Marvel Universe is so huge now and so popular that it has become, one of the biggest conglomerates for the movie industry. I mean, if you went back, back to 2011, right when, the first Avenger was coming out, along with Thor, before Avengers hit. I mean, a lot of people probably said, yeah, I know a little bit about Marvel. There was the 2 Iron Man films, and then there's a couple new ones coming out, but they weren't like, super excited like they are now, because we've had 23 movies that, have started this huge climactic, story and universe that is slowly expanding now with all these other films. And so, I mean, it's become this huge, giant, expanding universe. And so that just makes, like I said, makes anybody super popular. So yeah, I mean, a lot of these people, I feel, this was really their big outing for them and what made them what they are.
Well, yeah, I mean, would you, and you tell me, I believe I remember hearing that, weren't they actually just recently filming Sherlock Holmes 3 with RDJ?
That has been in the works since the second one came out. Over the years, they've said, oh, yeah, we're going to start working on it. We have a script. We have a director, stuff like that. I think it was the beginning of, or the middle of last year, they supposedly said they had everything together and that they were going to start filming. I haven't heard anything else since then. Hopefully they are, but last thing I remember RDJ saying recently, I saw one of his like posts on Twitter, and like a lot of it was referencing Sherlock Holmes. So I think they might be filming it, or they have already filmed it, and it should be coming out within the next year or so.
I hope so, because I'm a fan of that franchise. I really am. I think RDJ is excellent in those films. I really do.
Yeah, both those films were good.
Oh yeah, great. And Cyber, what do you think about the influence on the rest of the film industry with the superhero genre being as popular as it is when it comes to these contracts that Marvel Studios signs with these actors and actresses, like the ones that they gave the original 6 Avengers and whatnot? What do you think the ramifications are on the rest of the industry with that type of deal going on?
I mean, I honestly don't think there's any ramifications from it. I mean, these
Do you
people.
think it's solely a Marvel Studios thing, and it's not going to become a widespread kind of thing where?
Well, no, I mean, it's most studios have contracts that they create with the actors to do several films. That is nothing new. That has been going on for years now. Universal, Paramount, Disney, Fox, before they became merged with Disney and everything. They pretty much any actor that was big at the time, they would create a contract for the actor that usually either was between 2 or 4 movies. So this is nothing new. This is something that's just always going on. What Marvel did is they just made it bigger is what they did. They just extended it to like 6 to 7 films, where unlike the other studios where they only do a couple for them. Because usually when they have a contract, when they bring somebody in, they want them specifically for a whole bunch of films they already have slated to come out or to be created by them so that they can get the popularity from it and bring in the money. So I mean that's pretty much what's always going on. But with Marvel, it's just what they do, and I think it's a good idea. I really do, because if they basically lay out that plan like they do, because like they've said in the past, in a lot of their documentaries and stuff like that, and just like open shows and stuff talk about upcoming projects, they say we already have had 10 to 15 years in advance of what we're going to do. So, I mean, they already have what they think they're going to be making and producing and directing and all that stuff ahead of time. So, when they have these actors sign these contracts for 6, 7 movies, it's because they are making sure they have that actor that they have in mind for that role already set into the role, so that they don't have to worry about going back and trying to get them again because they're working on another project. Because if they have them in that contract, then they're obligated to do that film. So that's kind of like why they do it like that, so that they kind of guarantee themselves that actor or actress so that they can make that movie that they already been talking about like 3 or 4 years in the future.
Excellent. So just a quick advisement to Arch and to Vincent, for future reference, after this episode of What If, next time we get together, week 3, we're going to start like doing a segment where we're going to ask everybody to find one What If comic book story that they can bring up and talk about, like one issue that they like.
I could do that right now.
What's that?
Said I could do that right now.
Do it right now.
Yep.
Arch, would you be prepared or able to to throw something like that together during the show, or?
I have no idea. I can look one up, but I've honestly never read. I'm familiar with What If, but I never really got into them. My comic book experience was going back and finding major arcs the characters had gone through and collecting those issues. But What If was never one of them. I went back and got key moments of Thor and key moments of Iron Man and major long runs of Daredevil and Captain America, but I never got any What Ifs.
Cyber, do you got one laying around, or do you want to wait till next time?
No, I don't have one, so I'd have to look for one.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. We'll half and half it, because if Vincent can do one, I've got one prepared right now. So like next week, we'll expect everybody to take a couple of minutes and go find one, in your homework or whatever, and we'll do a segment on that where everybody can kind of like pitch their favorite What If or whatever, or one that they thought was interesting. But I want to point out really quick that these Cyber and I are going to be coming up with some type of DCU focused new podcast or new YouTube channel or something like that. That is going to be Arch. You'll be pleased about that. We're gonna be coming up with a new show, essentially, that's going to be linked to the MCU's Bleeding Edge, but it's going to be different and it's going to be focused on non-MCU content. So we're going to cover the DCU. When we start doing reviews of the DC animated films, we're going to be doing it on that show. So, at that point, if anybody wants to give me any good ideas or opinions as far as what kind of title I should go with, just let me know, because I could use the help. But anyways, Arch, you'll definitely be welcomed on, brother. You too, Vincent. So be prepared to talk some DCU. So finally, all right, what if episode 2? Very, very, very interesting. Can somebody tell me, Cyber, did you see how long the episode was entirely?
35 minutes.
35 minutes. Okay. So basically, long story short, as far as the premise of this episode goes, the plot's very simple. Basically the Ravagers accidentally abduct T'Challa instead of Peter Quill because of the vibranium in Wakanda. It sets off their scans or whatever, and so they think that that's who they're supposed to be abducting, and they're stupid, so they abduct the wrong kid. It turns out to be T'Challa, but he's happy about it, because he wants to see the world, the universe or whatever, so he's all happy. And it starts off kind of similarly, to the first episode with Peggy Carter, mirroring the the first Avenger. We get an intro scene where you see T'Challa as Star-Lord, just like Guardians of the Galaxy. He's going to get the Power Stone, and then Korath shows up with some guards, and things go a little bit different in this situation than they do in Guardians of the Galaxy. It turns out that T'Challa is the Robin Hood of outlaws or whatever out there, in the galaxy. So Korath is kissing his ass and everything, and asking if he can be on his team and everything and whatnot. And basically, starting off with that, going to you, Arch, what do you think? What was your take kind of on where things were at with the episode before we get the introduction of Thanos and Nebula and everything like that?
I think the thing I thought was coolest about it is figuring out that it was an accident, how they got him. And I didn't think this through enough, because when I first heard about this episode, I was like, so he's Ego's kid? And then I didn't realize that meant somehow Ego would have had to have hooked up with the Queen of Wakanda somehow, and how do they not figure this out? So anyway, so I was glad that wasn't the thing, because I hadn't even thought about that. Oh yeah, that would have made no sense. And I was actually wondering if that was a conversation in the writers' room at one point where they were like, wait a minute, we can't do that, because then you got to explain how this even happened. But I thought it was fun that it was an accident. I'm sure we'll get to the end later, but I love the ending bit with Peter Quill actually meeting Ego. And I thought that was pretty interesting in terms of, it actually made me wonder if this, especially after watching the first episode and then watching this episode, I keep thinking in the back of my mind, is this going anywhere long term? Is there anything bigger going on here than just the episode to episode stuff that's going on? I know Lord Deathman, who's been on here a couple of times and of course is on the Podcast of Champions all the time, but he was really a big proponent that he thinks there's more going on to this series than we might think. And I'm not totally convinced that's true, but it does really seem like they're setting up something with Ego that we're going to at least go back and visit. So that'll be curious. But overall, I just love the interplay. I loved how T'Challa's Star-Lord creates this whole different vibe. He's not the bumbling oaf who nobody's ever heard of and who keeps messing stuff up. He's this guy who's brought this kingly calm and leadership to the entire galaxy, which fits his character. And I thought that was a fun story beat to kind of take the rest of this in instead of the Peter Quill version of it.
Well, we're going to get T'Challa in 4 total episodes in What If. So there's going to be 3 more episodes with T'Challa featured in the episodes.
This I did not know, but that's really cool.
Yes. So, Vincent, what do you think? What was your take, or what did you take out of, I guess, things in the episode with the intro before we get to the Thanos Nebula nightclub scene or whatever? And also, what do you think of the fact that we're going to see T'Challa 3 more times in the series?
I think it's really sad to hear Chadwick Boseman's voice, knowing that this is one of the last things we're going to get to hear or see him in that's new.
Good point.
I really loved Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa. I thought he was phenomenal in the role. I love how pure T'Challa is in all of this. Like, that he's basically the reason why the galaxy is at peace, and they're working on feeding all of the hungry and all of that stuff. And it's that's just so pure and amazing to me that they brought that to the character still. And especially knowing that they wrote that before he passed away, that he did it that well. So that makes me really sad. However, like the rest of the episode, I really super enjoyed so far, up to like the introductions of Thanos and whatnot. The fact that where was I going with that? I've completely lost my train of thought. Oh, I love Yondu in it, because Yondu is one of my favorite characters from any of the movies. I wish he was in Infinity War and Endgame, but unfortunately, died in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Spoiler alert, in case you haven't seen this 2014 or 17 movie. Yondu's a lot of fun. Michael Rooker is an amazing actor. I like seeing him in Suicide Squad as well. I think he's great in that, even just for the little amount of time he has on screen. I won't go too much into detail on that. I mean, it was really great characters, really fun artwork. I love Jaimon Hansu. His reaction to meeting Star-Lord and it being like a hero of his, him fangirling out, was a lot of fun. I think it was just generally a really wholesome, good episode to watch. And I was smiling the entire time. I loved it.
And Cyber, same thing to you. What were your thoughts on the fact that, I'm sure you probably already knew that T'Challa was going to be in the series for another 3 times? Anything strike your that you noticed or anything or paid attention to, really?
I mean, that intro was really good. I mean, yeah, it was kind of mirror imaging, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, except with T'Challa being taken instead of Peter Quill. I thought there was a lot of great humor in those first few scenes. I love that they brought back Sean Gunn, Dijma Huzan too. All these characters' voices, at least they had them come back and play their character voices. And I thought it was hilarious. I was laughing the whole time, this whole beginning intro. I think it's hilarious they brought Taserface into this when Taserface was only in Volume 2. So I was really shocked that they had brought him into this. But, I mean, they brought in Thanos, they brought in, all these other characters and stuff. But I think it's hilarious that they brought him in, too. But I thought it was just a really great introduction. Yeah, the whole fangirling thing, Korath being a fangirl of Star-Lord. I think that's kind of like, and kind of honoring, I think, Chadwick Boseman a little bit. That's probably why they had it that. But that was freaking hilarious and just made me crack up so hard. And it just was a really well-rounded beginning to, giving us a little different take of what, Guardians of the Galaxy could have been if T'Challa was the Star-Lord character instead of Peter Quill being the Star-Lord character. So I thought it was really great. I mean, there was really great scenery. I mean, the great camaraderie between Yondu and, T'Challa, even as a little kid, not him being afraid of being taken by them. And just kind of like that whole, the whole setup to what was going to be happening was really awesome too. And I thought it was really done well. And just a really great start to the episode.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I really liked Korath is somebody that I really enjoy. I liked Damon Hanju. I really do. I always have. He was really, really good in there was this film that he was in the 90s with Matthew McConaughey, where I think it was called Amistad or something like that. Where he was like a slave that like fought for his freedom or whatever, like in court.
Yep, Steven Spielberg film.
Yeah.
1997.
That's right.
Great film.
Yeah, really
He
good.
he was in Gladiator as well. That's the first time I remember seeing him.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Matthew McConaughey was really good in that movie as a lawyer. And that was when he was young.
All
too.
right.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, moving on from there, we get into the entire scene where we get reintroduced to a kind of different Nebula. We actually get Thanos, which surprised the shit out of me that they threw Thanos into the picture. I did not expect that. I found it to be a little bit like kind of like overdoing it, to tell you the truth. Like, as far as like, like it was one thing when Korath was like man crushing on like Star-Lord and everything. But when like Thanos was just like hanging out, like he's a Ravager now or whatever, like I thought that was kind of far-fetched. But it was funny. It was funny. So basically, Nebula has a wig now, or whatever. She has hair. She actually looks pretty hot. In the animated in the What If episode, I thought. And she's still Thanos' daughter, but Thanos is a good guy now because T'Challa like convinced him that his plans weren't good. So now he's a good guy. And Nebula and T'Challa cook up a plan to go steal from the Collector. What was that substance called? I wrote it down somewhere. The Embers of Genesis, which basically would like create food on like multiple planets, multiple worlds that would feed millions of worlds or whatever they said, basically. So you tell me, guys. I mean, you already told me, you already heard what I thought of like Thanos popping up and everything and whatnot. Going to you again, Cyber. What did you think, man? Like, I mean, did you find that just the whole thing with Thanos funny?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome. I wish this was the Thanos we got in Infinity War and in Endgame. I think this would have made those movies a lot better because then he wouldn't want to kill everyone. But I thought it was absolutely freaking hilarious. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a great different take on Thanos. I love that Josh Brolin came back and did his voice.
Yes.
And like when he fights his former members later on, that was really awesome too. I loved the whole aspect of Thanos. I thought it was a great addition to that episode, and I just thought it made the whole episode even more fun. I really enjoyed it.
The Dark Order now is still there, but since Thanos became a good guy, the Dark Order now works for the Collector. So, Vincent, what did you think, man? What was your take on the nightclub scene with Drax as the bartender and us getting the reveal of Thanos? Were you surprised?
Yeah, I'm not so happy with how they treated Thanos in this. Very similar to a lot of people being upset about how they treated Hulk during the Infinity War Endgame.
Oh, he looked like a little bitch, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So Thanos got the bitch treatment in this one. They built him up to be this big bad that can beat the Hulk, and the Black Order, they bow to him and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, he has trouble with two of the Black Order when they're fighting him, and I'm just like, I don't like that. They made him out to such a bitch. If they had all four of the Black Order fighting him and he was struggling a little bit, that I could get. But because it was just two of them, I'm like, come on. So that kind of irritated me. But I love seeing Drax in there, seeing that his family was saved, that he got to live with his wife and daughter. That was pretty cool. I love all of the voices that came and did their stuff. Benicio del Toro, Jaimon Hansu, Chadwick Boseman, of course. They brought all those people in. That was really cool. Yeah, so I mean, it's a little rough what they did to my boy Thanos, but other than that, I think it's been pretty good.
Arch, what did you think of the version of Nebula that we got?
No, I absolutely love that. I was debating whether I wanted to leave with that or Thanos, but. So I really wanted to see an Endgame Nebula. She was almost there with the gauntlet, and I almost wanted to see her wish to be the whatever ideal version of herself that she considers, because that happened in the comics, if you guys remember.
And put the glove on
she gets the
herself and
gauntlet.
everything and whatnot.
Yeah. 'Cause she was all zombified for like a long time, and then all of a sudden it was like in issue 5 or 6 or something like that. She suddenly is beautiful Nebula, like her original self or whatever. So I was almost hoping to see that in live action. So I was really happy to see that here. I thought it was great. Regarding the Thanos thing, this is probably a prime example of why I just don't think you're supposed to take this series all that seriously. It's a playground for them to do new ideas that they wouldn't do in the films, and they're not interested in doing in the films. So they're like, hey, you know what, wacky Thanos, why not? So I think that's fine, because I just think you're just supposed to have fun with these, and I just don't think you're supposed to take them all that seriously, which is great. The other scene that I noticed that primarily in this episode was their whole plan to get in to infiltrate the Collector's base involves starting a fight outside, and then for some reason Proxima Midnight just completely abandons her post, like they have nobody else to take care of this. But that's what would happen in a cartoon. Somehow this Scooby-Doo thing just sort of works out, and it's fine. But it's stuff like that. The show's just supposed to be kind of wacky fun, and that's fine. I'm cool with all that, as long as it's, that stuff would not work in the films, because you'd be like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. But who cares? It's a cartoon.
Yeah, but so you're saying that you're just all good with it completely? Because like my attitude towards it is kind of like, if they keep on going in this direction with these episodes, I'm honestly going to start to get a little bit irritated at some point.
I don't really care about What If, and I don't mean that to say that I don't like the episodes. I just don't care where they're going. They can do whatever they want. I don't care. Like it's fun. They can just have fun with it. They can do any wacky stuff they want. And whatever. I'll just watch. I'm gonna have fun with it. It's not like something I'm really all that worried about if they come in and they just totally go like take a left turn with some character, and that's fine. I'll figure it out.
I want to go ahead and put it out there right now. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vincent.
I was gonna say that I understand that like what if scenarios are not for everybody. These things are about as close to fan scripts as you can possibly get. People on the internet doing fan fiction. That's about what these are. If the writers of Marvel was doing the fan fiction, so they're a little bit higher quality than what you would find on 4chan or something, but they're going to be a little bit less quality than Earth 616.
Well, I just want to put it out there. I was on there's Cyber. I was on there you are, Cyber. Anyways, it was I guess, let's see. On last night, actually. Well, it was last night. I was actually a guest on a podcast that I cannot off the top of my head remember the name of, unfortunately. But I was actually on a podcast plugging the MCU's Bleeding Edge and doing a segment talking about the multiverse and what if and everything. And essentially, actually, the guy Gerald that like I was on his show, his podcast is actually carried on like multiple radio stations. So it was actually kind of like a high profile kind of thing. But and you know what? I was on TV the other day too, guys. Arch, I didn't tell you that earlier. I actually was on TV the other day.
Really? How'd this work out?
I was on our friend Wise, who is a friend of the MCU's Bleeding Edge. I've known him for a while back now, since I first started content creating. He's a podcaster. His podcast is called Stuck on My Mind, and he invited Cyber and I onto his radio station. We just have not actually figured out how to add our show to the schedule yet, so we're not being played on there yet, but very soon we will be. And he also is on an actual TV channel, and like they have actual advertisements and everything. It's very professional. Like like I had to talk to a producer before I got on the show, like before I actually like went on and everything.
You got all these connections, man. This is great.
Yeah, I was on TV, man. It was really interesting. Anyways, so bottom line, I just wanted to kind of get into the fact that my take, like you were talking about, Arch, is that I really, really, really don't believe that we're going to see a bunch of live action stuff that's going to come out of What If. I don't. I really don't see it happening. I I know there's a lot of rumors about it and whatnot and everything. And if any of you guys want to chime in on this, you know, feel free. Just raise your hand up or whatever and let me know that you want to get in. But like, you know, I feel like I just don't see it happening unless something really stands out or something, or catches fire or something like that with one of these episodes. I don't think that's the direction they're going to go, because I don't think they want to get too crazy with this multiverse stuff, because you can overdo it, you know?
We've been talking about that pretty recently. In fact, our phase 4 MCU discussion was about the multiverse and how far you can go with that concept before it starts to just become meaningless. Like, if it starts to become this thing where just literally anything can happen at any time, then it's like, well, what are you doing? Like there's no suspense, there's no weight to a lot of stuff you're doing. So I don't think that they're gonna get super duper crazy where it's just stuff showing up from out of nowhere. But we'll see. Like, I believe, and I haven't checked in on this a lot, you guys might help me out here, but I've heard that they're doing a Haley Atwell live action Captain Carter project of some sort. And if that's true, I almost think it has to relate to this. But I don't know. We'll see. I can see them. I don't think like all of these things are going to come back out and relate to the MCU proper. But I mean, I could think one coming out at some point. I'm not going to wait to reveal what that is, or if it'll show up in some major crossover thing like Secret Wars or something, and it plays into that. I don't know, but yeah, I think all of this is gonna just wash over the films and everything.
Anybody else want to jump in on that? Cyber, Vincent?
Yeah, I'll go in. So I think what they're going to do is have kind of like two timelines, or maybe, you know, multiple that basically converge on a second timeline. I've seen some different trailers and TV spots and things where they show like a lineup of the Avengers that involves the T'Challa Star-Lord, what they call Party Thor, which should come up in another episode, Captain Carter, and they're all doing that lineup from the original Avengers movie where the camera pans around them in a circle. And so I think they're going to have those characters converge on a timeline. And then potentially, if something comes from it where some people are just like, I am obsessed with this character, and what if I need this project to be live action, they could pull from it and be like, oh yeah, we're going to do a live action Captain Carter series, like you mentioned earlier. Or they could do, you know, something else. They could do Party Thor and have a different actor playing a younger version of Thor from that universe. It could be any number of things. And then eventually what Ash meant there, or talked about earlier with the Secret Wars, if they did something like that, then they could bring in some of the live action versions that originated from What If and have an even bigger crossover than was in the end of Endgame.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Cyber?
I honestly don't think they have anything planned for live action from the Marvel What If series at all. I don't believe they have anything planned.
Sure.
I have not heard any rumors that they plan on it. I have heard, though, going back to what Arch was saying about the live action Captain Carter, ever since Agent Carter was on, shortly after that show was ending, Haley Atwell had said that they were thinking about doing a movie about her. But that kind of fell to the wayside. So I don't know if that's like that same principle or that same talk that they were talking about earlier, like a few years back. But that possibly could be possible. And especially with the kind of like reigniting of Captain Carter because of this What If episode, we might end up seeing that. Because I know Haley Atwell has said since this episode come out, she says there are talks in the works for me to make a reappearance in the MCU. So that might be what they're talking about.
Well, I mean, we'll see what happens, I guess. But I mean, like, I guess if they were going to bring her back, it would make sense that they would do a movie. That makes sense to me. I get that. But that would be the right way to do it. You know, like if they were going to do Captain Carter or something like that, that they would do it in a film. But anyways, moving on with episode 2. So essentially, like I mentioned before, Nebula and T'Challa hatch a plan to steal from the Collector Again, I forget what the hell I keep forgetting what it's called. The Embers of Genesis, and essentially, basically, when they go there, among the things that happens is that T'Challa actually finds his necklace, his like Wakanda necklace, his vibranium necklace from when he was a kid, starts to like light up and everything and whatnot and stuff like, and it just happens that there's a Wakandan ship like the collector has, and basically he finds out that like his father and his family have been looking for him in space and everything, I guess, which was cool. I dug that. They've been trying to find him. And basically, we end up getting into a position where there's a double cross with Nebula. And then, at one point, T'Challa gets locked up like in one of Howard the Duck pops up, which is cool as hell. I thought that was really tight. Howard the Duck popped up, which was great. But basically, long story short with the whole thing, T'Challa ends up like as like, one of his like the collector's like objects. And he like Nebula comes back and like he breaks out and he fights the collector. And in this version of like of reality, the collector is like a badass. Like he's ripped, he's like built, like, and he's got all kinds of like Marvel Easter egg weapons just like hanging out like all over the place, like Thor's hammer, like freaking what's her name, the Thor's Hela's like crown and sword or whatever, Captain America's shield, a bunch of different stuff. So apparently in this reality, like all those people must be dead. But basically honestly, because like this whole thing happened pretty quickly, and then we get the end of it where, T'Challa, like lets, Randu know that he knows that like his family's been looking for him and Wakanda wasn't destroyed. Like they're, Wakanda's actually still there and everything. And Yondu lied to him. And then we get the end, aspect of the show where, Thanos gets his ass beat by like two of the Dark Order, like we talked about. And they have like a running away scene and everything, and there's fighting, and Nebula ends up being a good guy at the end. So out of all that, like, deal, going to you, Vincent, what did you, obviously other like besides Thanos getting his ass beat, like, and looking like he was a wimp and he couldn't even fight, which I also like did not like at all. What did you get out of that whole deal? Like what stood out to you, like with the scenes with the collector, for instance?
I think the overall theme of the episode was nature versus nurture when it comes to like your family and how things will turn out for you. So we see the family that Star-Lord chooses in this episode and in the original Guardians of the Galaxy as being more important than his actual family. In the original Guardians of the Galaxy, that's what it's supposed to be, is that the family you choose is more important than the family you're born with. But in this, it's more of the family that you choose can be as good as the family that you're born into. And I think that was a very strong message that came across in this. And one thing that I wish that they hadn't glossed over so much was Yondu lying to T'Challa. That kind of irritated me that he forgave him so quickly. But then I went and sat and thought about it for just a second, and I'm like, they're right to write it that way because that was T'Challa's nature. You could tell that throughout the episode that forgiveness, love, kindness, those types of things are what T'Challa is trying to bring to the universe. And so I think he would have forgiven him very quickly. And so I do like that aspect of it as well. So
you made some really good points there. I think it's very important to point out that it really was, refreshing and really an interesting spin on Star-Lord, the Star-Lord character, that with T'Challa as Star-Lord, he actually even convinces Yondu to be a good guy,
Mm-hmm.
like, so, it's an interesting dynamic, but, Arch, same question posed to you. Like out of that whole part of the episode, that meat part where we have like the battle between T'Challa and the Collector, and all the Howard the Duck. What did you really take out of that? What stood out to you?
I feel like these are like full-length films, like in 35 minutes, and I think you can only do that in animation. There's something about animation where you just don't spend as long on. I don't know why. I don't know how it works in animation that you just can get through material much faster, but it does. Like if you did the same story in live action, it'd be an hour and a half, like no problem. But I mean, basically, they did the entire first Avenger film in the first episode. They just ran back through stuff. You can just get away with montages and quick cuts and characters only saying a couple lines to get the point across. And I think it makes for I don't know. I guess it contributes to these shows are for like a little more for fun than to really get emotional depth out of these characters. Not that it isn't there, because it is. Each little thing they do about him forgiving Yondu, or him coming to terms with his family, like those moments are there, but they're so fast you're just kind of like on to the next thing. Or like Nebula's double and then triple cross and you're trying to figure out what's going on there. They're like, just trust me, this is what's going on, and then you just kind of moved on to the next thing. There's not really a lot of time to absorb those things, which is fine. I just think that's the way this is structured, and you're just supposed to have kind of fun with it. And then I'm glad you brought up Howard the Duck, because I thought that was probably my favorite part of the episode. Not that he was in there, but how they used him. Like, they get him and he's supposed to be helping out, but then they stumble across a bar and Howard's just like, hey man, it's happy hour. That's it.
Well, that kind of the only thing with that for me was like, how does it make any sense that there would be a friggin' bar there all of a sudden?
Who cares? That's what I'm saying. Like, this is just it's what if, man. Just go with it. Just go with it.
Yeah.
There's a bar there, and Howard just he has to sit down and get a drink, and that's it. He's out of the episode. Didn't do a thing. That's it. Yeah, I thought it was great.
It's called fantasy, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you take any of this too seriously, you might want to go get a life. No. Anyways, but yeah, I just it's all fantasy, people. Fantasy.
Arch, did you enjoy how the story flushed out? Like at that point in the episode, did you like what did you think of the fight scenes with T'Challa and the Collector, and Nebula jumped in? And
yeah, I thought they were all fun. Like the fact that he had Hela's powers for a second, and then Yondu comes flying in, and that worked out. I mean, we can talk about how whether or not Thanos should have been able to beat the two Black Order members or not. I mean, I tend to agree with you in the live action version. There's no way they're taking him out, but it's what if, and it's whatever. It reminds me of actually in the first episode, I had a similar thought where the Hydra tentacle monster, or whatever, like crushes Red Skull in like an instant, but then Peggy can just push this thing back. And again, it's something that in this context of an animated show, I'm just not worried about. Like if this was live action, I'd be like, what the fuck? But I mean, it's not, so I'm not that worried about it.
I did not like that at all. I didn't think that made any sense that Peggy could push that freaking monster through the portal. It made no sense.
It doesn't. But I'm honestly, I'm seriously not watching the show for it to make sense. I'm really not. I'm just watching it to have a good time. The fights were fun. That's it. I like concepts. Actually, my favorite part of these shows right now, like I said earlier, is when they take a similar scene and you kind of know sort of what to expect, but then they do a clever little twist. Like, Star-Lord's walking in there to steal the orb, and I'm forgetting his name right now. Hanzu's character is coming in to stop him, but then he likes him. He's a fan of him, and it's just they just kind of flip what's going on with the scene in ways you wouldn't expect, and that to me is like what's interesting about this show. I don't care if like Thanos couldn't beat the guy, whatever. Like I just like the clever use of the scenes.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is fun. Cyber, same part of the episode, the middle to like the end of it, what you took out of it. But then also, if you want to also talk about maybe a little bit about how things close out with the episode, as far as them going back to Wakanda with the Ravagers and everything and whatnot, and like that whole deal.
I mean, it was all done really great. I really enjoyed the episode, like I was saying before. I thought every single part of it was fun. That it was enjoyable. I thought it was hilarious and fun. Getting a little bit into, the Thanos fight. I mean, yes, in live action reality, yes, I'm sure Thanos would have beaten his own two, goons basically easily. But that's how it changes in What If is the fact that it's supposed to be an alternate reality. So hence they would make Thanos different than the Thanos we know from the live action. So I understood why they did it that way. Yeah, I want to see Thanos beat everyone up. I thought he did. I thought he did a good job of defending himself. I thought he did really fun. And I thought that was a really great scene and just really enjoyed. Then going on, you had, Nebula turn it around. You had, them going back to Wakanda and seeing, everyone. I think it was hilarious that they have one of the Wakandans. They're talking to Thanos, and she's like, all of a sudden she goes, "That sounds like genocide." That was freaking hilarious. And just Thanos like, yeah. That was super hilarious. And
He's like,
that whole
it's random.
yeah, he's like, it's weird, yeah. And I thought the whole ending sequence was really cool because you got to see more of Wakanda, and you got to see that same vibe that you got from like Black Panther and stuff like that, and how T'Challa, he's such a different person than Peter Quill is. Peter Quill is very emotional. He's all about his emotions. Where T'Challa, being the king that he is, he's very poised. He's very meticulous. He's very in control of his emotions. And so you can see the difference in how they took if say T'Challa was the Guardian of the Galaxy film versus the Peter Quill version, you can see through that ending sequence how different T'Challa and Peter Quill are. And I thought that's what made that such a great episode, is because you got to see this whole other aspect of what could have happened. Not, that it is going to happen in live action, but that this is what another alternate reality could be. And I just thought they did a really good job with that. I really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was a lot better than the first episode, and I just thought everything about it was really fun.
I would agree with you 100%. I believe that also that the second episode was much better than the first episode. I really did feel that way. I feel like, of course, also we did see a scene at the end where Peter Quill is working at like Dairy Queen or something like that or whatever, and Ego shows up to like find him or whatever, Does anybody want to elaborate anything with, to that, or add anything to that whole scene? Or do you guys think, go ahead, Arch, anybody think we're actually going to like maybe see something like, more with that, like later on?
Just a little personal. I definitely think so, but just a little personal tip. I have been to that restaurant. Like, it's just outside of Atlanta, on the east side. It was so cool watching that scene, because I've gone out of my way to a couple of filming locations around Atlanta before when I was traveling through on work, and I've been outside of that one. It was like the trippiest thing to look at that and go. I was basically sitting right where that camera angle is, like looking at the building, so it was kind of cool.
You mean it wasn't actually in Missouri?
It's not actually in Missouri. It's in Atlanta. You can go there. Anybody that's around Atlanta, it's right outside. It's not too hard to get to. And there's a couple other locations we can talk about them later that I've been to, but it's pretty cool stuff. There are a lot in Atlanta. I definitely think they're getting back to this. I just felt the way they ended this with, I forget exactly what they said, but they haven't really touched on what Peter was doing, but then they make a clear statement that Peter's just a normal dude here, has no idea about any of this. He's just a completely random guy, has no idea he's half celestial. And then to have Ego show up and be like, yeah, here I am. Like, I feel like they're almost telling you they're going to wrap that up somehow. I feel like, does anybody disagree? I feel like they're going with that.
Oh, no, I totally agree. I think they're going to have a full episode around that. Maybe not this season, maybe this season, or maybe second season. Who knows? I mean, they're setting up other things for season 2. So, yeah. I do think that the way that's going to play out is that with Peter not having met the Guardians of the Galaxy and gone through the adventures and the changes and whatnot, that he's had experiences with them, I don't think that he's going to be able to resist Ego's like wanting him to spread his seed, as it would. And I think that it will start to take over the maybe the planet or the country or whatever. And somebody will have to fight him as well as Ego off. I think it'll be the two of them versus somebody. Probably Doctor Strange will show up or something. But I think that's where they're going with that one.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Doctor Strange either 2 or 3 times altogether in the What If series, which makes sense that he would be a big part of like the series. You know, you would expect that. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. Let's change things up. Let's change the pace. Hey, we'll talk to you later, Isaac. You be good, man. Have fun at school, man. Isaac is a young fan of the MCU's Bleeding Edge. He's a supporter of ours, and Isaac, we appreciate seeing you again as always, brother. So let's go ahead and dive into our final segment, which could be who knows how long. You never know. But we're gonna go ahead and all right. Who has actually seen the Iron Fist Netflix series? Arch, have you seen it? Okay, Arch has seen it. Cyber, you haven't seen it?
Nope.
Vincent, you haven't seen it?
Nope.
Nope, I haven't seen it. Okay, so Arch, you can handle watching these trailers, right?
Absolutely.
All right. All right. Arch doesn't like trailers, Vincent.
Trailer hater.
That's true.
Well, don't put it on your truck then.
You have not been home in days. You barely sleep when you are home. How many times a night you light that fist up? I see how much you're pushing yourself.
Just trying to keep the peace. What am I supposed to do? I didn't ask for the Iron Fist.
I'm fighting for what I believe in, no matter the cost. What are you fighting for?
I'm trying to do what's right.
I didn't expect to see you here, brother. We have family matters to discuss.
You and Davos. You were trained together.
I fought my brother. There is no changing what happened.
You feel that you can just walk through this world as if it belongs to you. The Iron Fist is not a weapon to be held, it is to be used. Now you'll give me what's mine, brother. You will suffer.
The Iron Fist. Davos wanted it.
We can stop him, but I need help.
You're not alone. But we can't save everyone.
I can't just sit here and do nothing.
I have become the thing you never had the strength to be.
History doesn't decide what happens next. We do.
We should do this more often. Dinner out, a movie. Date night.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Danny Rand. I've been away a long time.
Let's go. You don't belong here.
I'm Danny Rand. Guys, I just want to talk. Welcome to Rand Enterprises. I left here 10 years old in a jet with my parents. I became the lone survivor.
Danny Rand, back from the dead. Why'd you wait this long to show up? How the hell did he learn martial arts?
Where'd you train?
Kunlun. My father instilled in me a love and respect for this company that has never faded. This is my home.
Rand is my company.
This city is no place for Danny Rand.
We put in practice and discipline, no giving up, no giving in.
Danny, what happened to you? Why are you really back here?
Some bad people have gotten on the inside. Criminals.
I know what they are, what they can do. To fight them, we need someone with special skills.
I've been training my whole life for this. This is my destiny. It's time.
I'm going with you.
No, you're not.
You need me.
A change is coming, Danny.
Become what you were meant to be. I am the Iron Fist.
The hell does that mean?
Was that Rosario Dawson from Daredevil?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No shit.
They do a lot of crossovers in all of the Netflix shows, and I think they're all great. Like Misty Knight is in this, who's primarily a Luke Cage person. I think they do a great job of the crossovers and throughout the Netflix series.
All right, well, let's get some fresh reactions from these trailers now. I'm sorry I played them out of order, guys. Obviously, that was like season 2 first and then season 1, so that was my bad. Blame it on the Hennessy, baby. But anyways, Cyber, what are your thoughts, man? Are you any more excited about watching Iron Fist now, or like, could you give a shit less?
I mean, I honestly already wanted to watch it to begin with. Watching the trailers, I had seen the trailers before, so this was not my first time watching them. Even though I haven't watched the series yet, but still at the same time, I mean, it does excite you. I mean, watching trailers, like, you love your trailers, and you gotta watch them. You get excited. You want to watch the show. So I mean, watching those trailers definitely got me more excited about wanting to watch it. Definitely watching them out of order really confused the hell out of me. No, I'm just joking. It didn't confuse me. But at the same time, I thought it seemed like that was the second season versus the first season when how you directed them there. But still, yeah, it got me excited. I'm looking forward to checking them out eventually, and I think it'll be a fun show to watch.
That's right, everybody. Just so you know, just so we're clear, again, everybody here but Arch has not seen Iron Fist yet. So, like, we're working our way to it. Cyber and I are both on season 2 of Daredevil. And Vincent, you've watched Daredevil already, haven't you?
Yeah, I watched Daredevil when it first came out, each of the seasons.
You just haven't watched Iron Fist.
Iron Fist and Jessica Jones are the 2 that I never got to watch.
Well,
I did see Luke Cage, Punisher, Daredevil, and The Defenders.
Well, dude, at that point, you got to go back and watch those shows, man.
Yeah, I probably need to. I especially want to watch Jessica Jones because I love David Tennant and Kristen Ritter. The 2 of them are phenomenal actors, so it would be cool to see them working together.
Yeah, Kristen Ritter is great as Jessica Jones. She really is. I really think that they should bring her into the MCU. Like, out of the people that from the Netflix series that I think they should bring in, I think that she's one of like the 2 or 3 that deserves to like be in the MCU.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. And she would be a perfect fit for the She-Hulk Disney Plus series. Like,
I love Charlie Cox as Daredevil too. I think he's phenomenal, and John Barenthal as Punisher.
Look, we're gonna get Charlie Cox Daredevil in the MCU. Like, it's a
really hope so.
As soon as they just haven't released any details on the contract negotiations. But I wouldn't be surprised if they've already worked it all out. You know what I mean? They just haven't let us know yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think, Cyber? I think they probably already have a contract figured out.
Well, I mean, if he's already going to be in the She-Hulk series, and if he does make his cameo in Spider-Man: Far From Home, or No Way Home, I should say, he already has a contract already done. Yeah. I mean, if he's doing anything, he's already had a contract done.
Yeah, and like, let's be honest here. We're talking about Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios here, Arch. So, like, at that point, I'm sure that they can figure out what they want to do with Daredevil.
No, absolutely. Yeah, if they're bringing him in, they'll have a longer term plan with him. I don't want to spoil these series at all for you, but yeah, definitely check out Jessica Jones. That was actually one of my favorites of the whole group. Daredevil was an awesome run of 3 seasons. Jessica Jones, especially the first season, was magnificent. David Tennant is awesome. I don't want to spoil any of that at all, but it's pretty incredible. And I really like what they do with the second 2 seasons, seasons 2 and 3. They get really personal with her. There's a pretty solid twist on season 3 that I really enjoyed. Iron Fist, Luke Cage is interesting. Vincent's already seen it. I would say first half of season 1's really, really good. I really enjoyed season 2. Latter half of season 1's a little curious. It's not bad, but it's just interesting with what they do with it. I'll just say that if you guys haven't seen it. The Iron Fist is interesting. Just to kind of set you guys up with this, because this is the one series that got a little bit of pushback, a fair amount of pushback. I'll just be.
Arch, don't worry about the spoilers, man. The show came out 3 years ago. We'll be okay.
No, I know. I don't want to say too much. But so what I'll say about it is that if this were something they were doing in the films, you would get something probably more akin to the Immortal Tournament or something like that that was in the Immortal Iron Fist series that came out in the comics, where he's really super mystically powered and he's fighting other super mystically powered beings here. What you get in the show, and I'm not sure if it's a show or if because it's a show, or there were budgetary concerns, or if they just really, I got the feeling that they really wanted to start from sort of a grounded level and build him up. And so it does come off as a little, not a ton of happening all the time. There's a little bit of family drama and work drama, and he's super naive, fish out of water guy, which makes a lot of sense in the context of what's going on. In the comics, of course, he's like this near Tony Stark level billionaire, fully capable guy who's also super powered. But here he's kind of like coming to grips with his superpowers. He can kind of barely use them. He doesn't know anything about American business. He's making decisions that aren't really business sensible because he's an idealist. But as long as you approach it as he's this lighthearted guy who's kind of learning and he grows, he does get more powerful, and there's much more action in season 2. So I think it's definitely worth a watch, just as long as you know what you're getting into and you're not expecting crazy badass guy.
Well, I gotta ask though, that like those trailers were very light on like hand-to-hand combat. I noticed. You know what I mean?
Right.
So is that the deal? Like, should we not expect like Daredevil level like hand-to-hand combat to be going on in this series?
There's some really good scenes. Like they do a really good hallway scene where you saw like for a second you saw like an axe flying past his face. That whole scene was really good. There's a number of other really good ones. Like the very end of season 1 has some solid stuff. There's a couple. They keep the kung fu in it much more, I guess, what you would call realistic, especially in season 1, where it comes off more as an actual fight you would see in kung fu, and those things don't tend to be these epic huge brawls where people are flying all over the place and you're fighting 1,000 guys. It's much more like how 2 guys would actually fight in kung fu than it is. It's a kung fu demonstration more than it is like a big superhero brawl. Just so you know.
So Vincent, that was the first time you saw those trailers.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel? I mean, are you feeling like more like excited to see like the series or whatever, or like?
Yeah, so I've never really been too familiar with Danny Rand Iron Fist. I think I've seen him in like a single episode of a Spider-Man cartoon at some point, and then I saw a death battle where he lost to Kung Fu Panda. So that's about all I know of Danny Rand's Iron Fist. I've also seen a couple of clips thrown into conversations like this about MCU things, and it always looked like the kung fu is really slow to me. Like they just didn't work it enough to get it at the speeds that it needs to look good on TV. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I haven't actually seen the show, but that's just what I have seen looks really slow. I'm kind of a kung fu fan. I love all sorts of Bruce Lee stuff. I've seen a lot of Jackie Chan movies, and it's all very big, over the top, speedy, and solid strikes. Like when they strike, it's they don't move up and down when they do it and stuff like that. So the fighting that I saw in this trailer, as well as some of the other clips I've seen in the past, didn't look as good, as clean, as crisp as most good kung fu movies do. So to me, that's kind of my biggest concern as a kung fu fan. I'm looking at the Shang-Chi trailers and I'm thinking that's good kung fu. Like, he's striking hard, he's striking fast. They do some really cool moves where, like, he, drops the dagger and then grabs it in midair and comes back with it. And I think he does that a couple of times in the trailer. And I'm like, that's good, solid kung fu. I love seeing that. Iron Fist hasn't done that for me yet. I haven't really wanted to see the fights.
Well, spoilers, I was just watching the Cosmic Wonder earlier today on YouTube, and he actually went to the premiere for Shang-Chi, and he said afterwards, he said that the kung fu in that movie is like ridiculous.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
He said that the kung fu was like a real highlight for like the film, you know what I mean? So
I believe the cinematographer, the director, and the fight choreographer all come from Crouching Tiger. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's the case. And if that's true, it's going to have some really epic fight scenes.
Oh yeah. I think that, I mean, he had nothing but positive things to say about the film. Let's be honest here. Like, it's shit. Before you know it, it's going to be the end of the month. And what is it? What is it, the 3rd of September? Shang-Chi
13th.
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 13th. Yep. And you better believe, Arch, you'd already asked me before, are we going to do a Shang-Chi review here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge? And you better believe that me and Cyber will sit down and fucking, get after it one night on the phone together, and we will plan one out so that we can make sure that we do one without question.
I hope to be there day one. So
you'll be there, Arch. Don't worry about that, brother. You'll be there. I'm sure we'll all be going to see it like basically as soon as it comes out. So, that's one that I'm definitely going to have to see at least 2 or 3 times in the theater, maybe 3 times. I might have to see that one.
Am I correct in that we get 4 Marvel movies over the next 4 months? So Shang-Chi, Venom, what is after Eternals, and then Spider-Man in that order?
Yes.
That's awesome. Yep. That's really cool. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. As far as the Eternals goes, as I've already pointed out on sakar.freeforums.net, I really feel like at this point, after seeing the first trailer and how depressing it is, that they really might need to like have Angelina Jolie or Salma Hayek just like pull one of their titties out in the next trailer. Like,
there's going to be so much epic stuff in this movie. They're going to have Celestials, man. This is going to be like huge and epic and visually stunning and expansive. It's going to be great, man. I mean, I'm not going to turn down Angelina Jolie or Salma Hayek, but I mean, I don't think they need that. I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Look, what's wrong, Cyber?
You and boobs.
What do you want me to say, man?
We all love them, but we don't need to talk about it all the time.
I'm representing my masculinity, baby. So anyways.
Are you?
No, but
are you?
Look, I'm still optimistic. We'll see what happens. I'm wondering when they're going to drop the next Eternals trailer. Like, you would have thought they would have put another one out by now.
I'm wondering when they're going to drop a Spider-Man trailer. We're 4 months away and we don't have a single trailer.
I know, that's crazy. What the hell's going on with that? That's crazy.
Feige said he didn't want to release one until it was close enough so that they weren't giving away too much, because I guess all the footage that they have to make a trailer, it reveals too much stuff. So they are trying to push it back as far as they can. From the last thing I heard, we might either get it with Shang-Chi or we might get it with the Eternals. I'm not sure yet.
But what difference does that make? So if he releases it 3 months in advance, he's still 3 months of whatever spoilers come out. Is there some difference there? Like 6 months, like somehow everybody hears about it, but 3 months they don't?
I think there's something that's going to be revealed in some other project, whether it be What If or Shang-Chi or something that's going to be revealed that they need to wait until that happens to say, here's the Spider-Man trailer, guys. So
could be.
Who knows?
I mean,
Yeah, he didn't go into detail on that, but yeah, there's something that needs to, I think, happen before they can release the trailer. I think, like
what do you guys
Vincent was
think?
saying.
What are your opinions? I mean, my take basically on Spider-Man 3 is that Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 were good movies for me, but they were very anticlimactic. Like, they're not ones that I would put up in like the top echelon of like MCU films at all. I wouldn't. But that's just my take. Do you guys feel like it's possible that like this Spider-Man 3 film could be so epic that it could be like that it could actually like evolve and like, you know, jumpstart the Spider-Man franchise to the point where Spider-Man 3 could actually end up being like a massive like game changer film?
I think it has potential to, but it's going to be very tough to get it there. Yeah, so like, I mean, think about Endgame. They had this huge build up to it, and they had all these actors that are like, well, we had all of these actors that we've killed off. Are they going to come back in this movie? Is that even going to be possible? And then you built up so many actors over the entire course of this show of the Marvel MCU that they had to bring most, if not all of them in order to satisfy the crowd. Now they've got these rumors with Spider-Man of Tobey Maguire might be in it. Andrew Garfield might be in it. Mary Jane Watson from the original Spider-Mans might be in it. You got Alfred Molina confirmed. You've got Jamie Foxx confirmed. So I think a lot of people have this expectation of what this movie's going to be like. And for a lot of people, it's not going to meet the expectation no matter what they do.
Don't forget, Doctor Strange is going to be in it, and so Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. So all of these confirmed people. And so it's giving a lot of people all this hope, all of this, like, this might happen, and all of these scenarios. But I don't know that it's going to meet everybody's expectation in the end because of all of the buildup.
Arch.
Yeah, I think people. I agree. I think people are getting way too carried away with theorizing about this film. Not that it couldn't happen, but guys, you know, like, not some of the stuff you're talking about might happen, but 90% of it may not. I mean, I go back to the Quicksilver and WandaVision thing. I did not get on board that train, the Fox-verse crossover train, at all. I was constantly encouraging people not to get on that train, and it didn't happen, and it was never going to. You can't take your maybe it's possible thing and just like try to will it into reality. Like you really need to sit back, especially with something like this where people are just convinced there's going to be Raimi crossovers and amazing crossovers. Yeah, you know what? I mean, maybe there will be. I'm not saying there won't be, but if I wouldn't be surprised if they all just have cameos, or they're all just J. Jonah Jameson, different versions with the same actor. At best, I'd be a little surprised if they're going full on like other franchises suddenly count in the MCU. If you're thinking that, I'd advise caution. I'd seriously advise caution.
Cyber, your thoughts?
I mean, honestly, there has been so many different theories now that they've been talking about who's going to be in it, this and that. I did see an article within the last month that is from a source that has made other inquiries into other movies and has said certain things that it has come true. And so this guy is a pretty reliable source, and he has basically confirmed that they're probably going to be going with the Spider-Verse is what they're doing with Spider-Man 3. And that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are both confirmed to be in the film.
Yes.
Just recently they were showing Deborah Ann Wool, not Deborah Ann Wool, but Kirsten Dunst and Deborah Ann Wool. I was right. Deborah Ann Wool from, you know, two other franchises popping up from MCU content that were in LA filming something that was very secretive. So, I mean, this whole concept of the Spider-Verse is very logical for where they want to go with the MCU, especially because of Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness. I really think that Spider-Man 3, another reason why they're keeping it so hush-hush is because it's really going to lead a lot into Doctor Strange 2. And that it's a huge...
The Deborah Ann Wall thing makes sense. If what we're going to get in Spider-Man 3 is Matt Murdock, if that's what Charlie Cox is going to be, basically, it's just Matt Murdock, the lawyer, then wouldn't he have her as an assistant with him?
Possibly. Or he could be Daredevil in it. We don't know. He could be, both characters. We just don't know. We don't know the extent of it yet. But it being a part of the multiverse of madness, the possibilities of it being multiversal are very logical. And I think that's another reason why this one is so hush-hush is because of that. Because it's going to reveal too much of what's probably going to happen in Doctor Strange 2. And even Feige himself said months ago, I think even beginning of the year when they were filming Spider-Man 3, he was saying that this will tie into Doctor Strange 2. So, I mean, the fact that that's already confirmed, that the only possible way I feel that they can make it go with that is to do a Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse type of deal with that whole scenario.
Yes, that's a really
so. I mean, that's.
Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's a really great point. That's really I think that like nobody had mentioned at that point up until Cyber did about the whole connection with Doctor Strange 2, and I think that's very important. I think that it's a part of the trilogy. Like WandaVision, Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange 2. Like that's the three-parter. So like, at that point, I don't see how they don't do the Spider-Verse. And honestly, even the director of Loki said that she had talks with with Sam Raimi and with the director of Spider-Man 3, just to like get on the same page about the multiverse and like how they wanted to handle certain things, and like and so there's even connections with like the Loki Disney Plus series to this stuff, which is crazy. But listen, everybody, we are going to go into closing the show out mode and start doing all kinds of crazy plugs and Podcast of Champions talk and personal plugging, from like Cyber and myself and whatever Vincent wants to plug. But let's start off to say goodbye to everybody and let everybody know your causes and where you come from. Arch, do you want to like say anything about Sakar or?
Yeah, you've already mentioned it several times. Sakar.freeforums.net. Tons of just nerdy goodness over there, man. Like it's a chat board. Everybody's pretty active. We do pretty much weekly video talks, very similar to this one, all the time. We do a lot of show reviews. Sometimes we'll have entire breakdowns over a specific longer topic, and we'll take a few hours to go over all of DC or all of Star Wars and their shows that are coming up and those types of things. Like I mentioned earlier, we're hoping to do a Lord of the Rings talk. There's a show coming up on that pretty soon on Amazon coming out, so we're hoping to talk about that and some thoughts we have on the rest of the series. But yeah, sakar.freeforums.net. You check us out. It's really easy to sign up. We talk about everything, and you're more than welcome to come on and chat with us live. Very similar format to this anytime. And if you have a particular topic you want to talk about, just bring it up. Let us know. We'd be glad to get on and chat with you about it.
That's right. I mean, honestly, Cyber has mentioned multiple times that he wished that he could get on the Saturday show at some point. We're gonna have to try to work something out at some point, Cyber, with the guys over there at the Podcast of Champions, so we can try to like work out a schedule where we can get you on there.
Yep. See if we can do like a weekday call at some point, just for Cyber.
Yeah, we need.
There you go.
Whenever's good for you.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
Or like I always say, I said anytime, if they can get on early in the morning and I'm on late at night, that works too for me. So, just gotta work it around that, because I'm available. I just don't do early mornings, unfortunately. I can't. I'm sleeping at that time.
Nobody wants to record early in the damn morning unless you're Shadow Biz.
I'll get with you on a schedule sometimes, Cyber. When we're doing our next call, I'll get with you on your schedule.
There we go.
Vincent, do you want to shout out anybody? Do you want any family or your wife or,
Hi, Mom. Hi, wife. Pretty much the only thing I'm going to plug is just some of my social media things. Vincent Van Spock on YouTube, on TikTok, on Clapper, on Twitch. I'm not on any of these things very often, but when I am, if you want to, give a follow and support me, that's great. If not, that's fine too. I don't care.
I'll get your info, Vincent, either tonight or tomorrow. I'll get your info so that I can drop links to your social media stuff and everything in your YouTube in the description for this video. I'll be working on this description. I'll be editing this video probably tomorrow and sitting down and really trying to make an effort to put something decent together. So, and of course, Cyber, I'll do the same thing with you. I'll make sure that I get all of your info for your YouTube, Rizzle, Twitter, whatever. I'll try to get all that, you know what I mean? So I can put your links up too. Cyber, do you want to go ahead and plug your personal content?
Well, of course, people, you know where I am. We're on Rizzle, people. You got to go to the Rizzle app and check us out. I'm under Cyberneticshark. He's under the Conservative Voice. I myself, I'm on there. I'm also on TikTok under Cyberneticshark. YouTube, exact same thing, Cyberneticshark. Look for it there. Twitter, same thing, Cyberneticshark. Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you go, any of the social media platforms, if you look for Cyberneticshark, I'm on there doing stuff, tagging stuff, showing new products that I've recently purchased or doing reviews of any sort, all that kind of good stuff. So if you like this content that we do for the MCU, like Jeff has mentioned, I do a lot of awesome other content about the movie industry, movies themselves, blogs, all that kind of stuff. So definitely, if you like us on here, definitely check that out. Like we were always saying, check out Sakar, freeform.net, because they're awesome, they're fun, they're enjoyable to talk to, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, find us there, guys. We'll see you there.
Most definitely. And I'm just going to close things out by just mentioning that, yes, you can find me on Rizzle. I am among many other, I've got a lot of channels on there, but my main one is the Conservative Voice.
MCU'S Bleeding Edge.org.
Yes, that's right. Please come to the MCU'S Bleeding Edge.org, all lowercase. It's very simply spelled, the MCU'S Bleeding Edge.org. It is our website. We put a lot of work into it. We have a blog. It's pretty active. I try to post on it every couple days. We do some MCU news. We've got some polls up there and stuff like that. There's full episodes of the podcast. Please, if you like to listen to podcasts, consider checking out the MCU's Bleeding Edge podcast through Anchor. We're on every single directory out there. And if you find a directory where you can't find the MCU's Bleeding Edge, please reach out to me and let me know so I can make sure that we get on there. But pretty much anywhere you go, you're going to find us. That's just how it is. But yeah, if that's how you like to, digest your content, we're a podcast too. And, as always, just like I mentioned earlier in the show, I just want to really, really, really genuinely just mention that we really appreciate every single person that has supported us and subscribed to the YouTube channel individually, one by one, to help us get over 50 subscribers. You know what? I want to believe that years from now, we'll look back at our 50 subscriber point of things and laugh at it. But right now, where we're at this point, having over 50 subscribers is really friggin' great. It's a very good feeling, and it's very rewarding. And we wouldn't be there if not for really good people out there that support us. So, I really genuinely also appreciate everybody that's on the show tonight. Vincent, it was really great to have you on, brother. I hope you had a good experience.
I did.
And we'll obviously have you back on again. Arch, your spot's always here. It's always warm waiting for you. You know what I mean? So I'll probably, I'm sure, see you next week.
Heated.
I'll be around.
Arch is a glue guy, man. He's a glue guy. You got to have him around. Cyber, I love you, brother. It was good to see you, man.
Oh, so sweet. I love you too, Jeffrey.
I'll talk to you later, brother.
Oh, we do.
All right, folks. This is the MCU's Bleeding Edge, and is out.